We begin tonight with Pointer football. The Pointers ended the season with a dominating 44-0 win over River Falls to finish the year 5-5 overall and a 3-4 WIAC conference record. As the Pointers finished fourth in their conference for the second consecutive season, Kyle Larson threw for 269 yards with 4 touchdowns and also added a rushing touchdown. DeJuan Wright had 111 of those 270 rushing yards for the Pointers, while Matt Sosinski had 120 yards with 3 touchdowns receiving. The game marked the last collegiate game for the 14-Pointer seniors, who ended their career 19-21. Sosinski is now 6th on the all-time receiving yards list with 2,761 yards. Defensive end Aaron Carlin, 11 sacks this year, tied the single-season program record, and kicker Jesse Verveldi held the record for the most extra points made, field goals made, and points. Nate, we'll start with you. How would you sum up this Pointer season this year?
Well, they were there in most of the games, but they couldn't close any of them out. They should have had at least 3 more wins on the season. They had a bad loss against Stout a couple weeks ago. And this win against River Falls this past weekend was kind of what we thought we would see a lot more through this year. The offense just didn't take shape in the fourth quarter in most of those games, and early on in the year, the defense wasn't there.
I would say it was decent. I think they didn't reach their full potential this year. They easily could have won this conference the way they were in games. They led. I think they went in that streak of 3 ranked opponents. They led in the fourth quarter all 3 weeks in a row, and they couldn't hold it down. So I think this team didn't fully reach their potential this year, but they had a good season.
Yeah, I would say disappointing. What you saw in this last weekend's game was what I thought this team would have been the whole season. And to see them go down and then see a team like Oshkosh, who I can't stand, I hope they lose the first round in the playoffs. To see them succeed so much, that's what I was hoping for out of this Pointer team, especially in my last year of college, to see maybe this Point football team to make a run into the playoffs. But I guess that's what you get out of it. What are some things you guys are looking forward to next year with this team? We'll start with you, Nate.
Well, I think the offense should be explosive again. I mean, Kyle Larson's coming back for his senior year. He's had great success early on this year and last year especially. He needs to stay healthy, but I think the running back situation is still pretty set. I mean, they still have Britton Vernon. They still have Christian Almonte. DeJuan Wright's leaving them, but I think Darren Ward, who we saw late in the year, the freshman this year, he can play a big role. He's a big, explosive guy. I think we'll see a lot from the Pointers offense again, but I think defense, they'll lose a lot. Losing Aaron Carlin, he really was the heart and soul of that defense, I think.
You're losing a lot on defense with Aaron Carlin, Dan Brown leaving on that line. You're going to lose, I think, Kontowicz in the middle at linebacker. You lose Longmire and Gaffney, who've been in that secondary now for at least 3 years starting. So there's going to be a lot of turnover on that defense. Sosinski's been a playmaker on that offense. They have that wide receiver, though. I think they'll be fine there. But he was a big part of that offense this year, too, that they'll miss.
Yeah, you guys both said it. I think the defense takes a huge hit this offseason, especially with their secondary and defensive line. And Aaron Carlin, that guy was a freak on the line. Dan Brown was a good addition aside of him. And then you got the guys in the secondary, and that's going to kill them, I think. Wide receivers, I don't know if anyone can pick up the slack of Matt Sosinski. That guy was special. We did some stuff on him, and he's got speed, and I don't know if anyone can match that on that team. And that's kind of where I stand with it all. Well, any other thoughts from you guys?
Yeah, like you talked about Matt Sosinski, that's the guy that they always look to when they needed something in offense, whether it's for a third down or for a big long play, or even just a short screen. They look to Matt Sosinski, and that's really going to hurt. And like we talked about the defense, defensively losing all 5 of those guys, 5 starters, and this year they suffered from losing starters from last year. So I think they're going to suffer even more next year, and the defense is going to look even worse than it did this year.
I kind of maybe will have to agree with that a little bit. Jernell's very defensive minded, so he's going to be working on that up until opening game next year. But they lose a lot of playmakers on defense.